How do you go from living in poverty to running a 25 location painting empire?
This location here makes $1 million.
Wow.
We lived in a really, really rough area, and I said to myself, I never want to go back to that again.
For this guy, it all started with a paint job and a life-changing encounter.
I wouldn't be where I am without him.
How much do I need to start my own painting business?
All you need is...
All right, Richard, before we get into your incredible story, tell us about this gorgeous project that you guys are at. How long is it going to take your team to wrap up? What are you guys doing here? And revenue-wise, what is it generating?
This is a 7,000 square foot house with 14-foot ceilings and just a really big house, right? So this project here, starting out, is $150,000 for Richard's painting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're starting. But there's been changes, and this will probably be $200,000 by the time we're done.
Do you come from an entrepreneurial background? Like, how did you get into painting in the first place out of all the industries?
I wish I did, but entrepreneur, owning a business, doing all those things is just something that came to me naturally. My family was never somebody who had a business. They just worked. Nobody really, said, oh, you're really good at this. You should go do that. I had to kind of find my own way, everything from being a kid selling candy at school, right? Mowing lawns, shoveling snow, doing all those kind of things. Always try to figure out a way to do it because we were broke, right? And there's probably many stories of entrepreneurs being broke, but I'm one of them.
How did you get into the painting side of things? What's the story there?
I'm 18 years old. I'm in between jobs. I didn't graduate high school, so I didn't really have this career path ready to go. And a friend of mine was painting, and he says, hey, you want to come paint? And I said, okay. And next thing you know, I feel like I really like this. This is something I think I could do. And it's a business that you can be involved with the customer, with the employees, with just relationships, right? It's just a great business. Every day you have a new owner, a new boss.
And as of today, how long has it been since you've been painting, essentially?
Oh, over 30 years now I've been painting. So it's been great.
Talk to our audience about the bare minimum needed to get started in this business. I'd imagine it's not too much.
For under $1,000, you could be up and running a business, and with some yard signs, some little bit of marketing materials, and you're out there and you can really, create a business.
Okay, and I know later on, guys, Richard will share with us the entire blueprint for getting started in this business with little to no capital, and more importantly, with very little experience. So keep watching. So besides painting, can you tell us all the other services that you offer?
You can do everything from painting kitchen cabinets, hanging wallpaper, removing wallpaper, taking popcorn down, doing drywall repairs, doing epoxy floors. There are locations who have done whole houses. There are a lot of opportunities in our business. So when you're getting into painting and you think it's just a paintbrush and a roller, it's actually a lot more.
At which point did you get into the business for yourself? Walk us through that story, that time.
I was in painting, working for Don, and he was getting to the point of wanting to retire. We've had conversations about how that might go, and we make a deal where I can buy the business from him and then take it over.
So he offered you to buy the business. Can you share with us what you paid for it, kind of what the agreement was?
Yeah, it was $25,000. He allowed me to make payments for $500 a month. And that really allowed me to get off the ground at the top level. You're taking over a business that's been in business for over 40 years. So you have built-in customer base, built-in pricing, everything you needed to kind of get started.
What did you think at that moment? Were you thinking you want to take over, or this came to you as a surprise?
To be honest, I was probably ready to start my own business 2 years or more before this.
I see.
I knew that if I waited it out and suffered a little bit, that the rewards would pay off later by taking the business over from him instead of me going and starting at the bottom by myself.
Do you think buying an existing business is a good idea? And where can our viewers find these great deals?
Obviously, buying an established business is a good idea, right? Because right now in the generation we're in, you have lots of owners who are in their 60s, in their 70s, who are looking to get out, but they don't have a daughter or a son or a family member who wants to take it over. So you can go to BizBuySell is a great place to kind of search for businesses for sale. Or in your local community, if you know somebody who is older and you see the business is older, just knock on the door. Hey, have you ever thought about selling?
You could have started your own business when you worked for Don, but you chose to stick it out.
Yeah.
Because you thought there's an opportunity here. Others can do the same, right? They can be patient, go work for someone.
Yeah.
What do you say to that process or about that in general?
You got to weigh the pluses and minuses.
Okay.
Right? Are you willing to go start at the bottom and dig and claw and try to figure out what the right pricing is, how to get the customers, how to do marketing? Or do you say, I want to get into a business that's already running and all I have to do is either just continue doing what they're doing or improve upon what they're already doing? And so for me, it was more that I saw the potential for earning a higher rate at the very beginning compared to starting by myself.
Do you guys want more incredible business advice from entrepreneurs like Richard? Well, do us a huge favor, hit that like and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. Cool, so we're at your major paint supplier. Our favorite, Sherwin-Williams.
Love them.
What are you spending on a monthly basis for paint alone? What's the average, just for this location?
For this location, we're averaging between $5,000 to $7,000 a month.
That's it?
On paint sales, yeah.
Okay.
Well, being part of Sherwin-Williams, being part of the brand, you get really good pricing. And that helps with your overall profit.
For sure, quite a bit different from the retail price.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
We're probably 50% below the retail price.
Whoa, okay.
For us. Now, there's certain products, right? Like Sherwin-Williams is not going to give me that price for every product. But for the core products that we use, they give us a really good price for what we do.
What's different about the painting business that keeps bringing you back in? Talk to us a little bit about the industry, maybe the lifestyle that it affords, things like that.
I think painting is the greatest business in the world. Instead of staring at a computer for 8 hours a day, you get to be out in the sun. You get to get a tan. Maybe it's a farmer's tan, but it's a tan, right? Like you can really explore the world. Plus you get to meet people every day. There's a new person you're meeting. You get a new customer. We're working on beautiful homes. We're working in businesses. We're working on top of buildings. Plus you get to make a really good living. If you run your business well and you're really dedicated, you can have a great lifestyle.
So earlier we talked about how buying the business early on wasn't actually the start of Richard's painting. So what happened? Why did you end up starting from scratch?
Well, I was in New Jersey. I was contemplating moving, and my brother here was in North Carolina, and I decided that the future would be better than it was going to be in New Jersey. So I sold the business in New Jersey, which was Nassau Painting Company.
I see.
Sold the business for way more than what I paid for it, which is great. And then I moved here and I had to start from scratch. I knew nobody. I came to a town, Salisbury, North Carolina, where I didn't even know it was here. But thank God this paint store was here, right? Because they were big and helpful and helped me get started. And so all the things I learned starting a business, buying one, and then having to start one from scratch are two different spectrums. When you're taking over and you're starting with customer base and you have all these things, it's great. When you start with nothing, you have to create the business, and coming to the store is one of those steps.
All right, what were the biggest challenges that you faced when you first started? Especially, how were you getting your new customers? Talk to us some of the things you did early on.
Yeah, big challenge. When you don't know anybody, how do you create that, right? How do you create that sense of getting work? So for me, my goal was, I knew I just had to get in front of people. Once I showed them how well we could work, what kind of person I was going to get work, right? So I just went and I would join the Chamber of Commerce, was one of the first things I did, where you can meet other business owners, other people. Then I would actually just make flyers, and we put them in envelopes and mail saying, hey, we're here, we're open for business. We're offering a 50% discount on your first painting job. Huge discount just to get people to call. And so that were the things that kind of led me to getting started. And then I would see contractors working out in the field. I would just go up to them and say, hey, who does your painting? Well, when we worked on a bank here locally, that turned into jobs that were almost $1 million in business.
Wow.
Just by me going up to the contractor and introducing myself. Just driving up in neighborhoods where you thought people had the disposable income to pay for painting.
Yeah.
You just go up, knock on the door. We made door hangers, right? If they weren't home, left it on the door. And you'd be surprised. Maybe you might put 1,000 door hangers, you might get 10 phone calls. And those 10 lead to 10 more, and it just keeps building from there.
Later on, we will ask Rich for more details on what it takes to start the painting business in a new area and how to find new customers. So keep watching to find out. How quickly did the business grow? Can you walk us through the year-over-year revenues?
Sure. First getting here, knowing nobody, right? Zero, big zero. The next year, after getting started, we probably did 150,000. Year 2, 250. Year 3, 400, right? Just steady increasing, right? To the point where we kind of topped out maybe 6 or 7 years later at 1.6 million.
That
was our best year here. The next year fell down to 850, right? Why? Because we had a couple big projects and those projects just went away.
You had COVID, you had the pandemic,
all these things, right, that happened. And then the next year, right back to 1.2.
Richard didn't go from poverty to a multi-million-dollar empire from just painting houses. He did it by painting his future. And if you're a business owner, every critical decision you make is another brushstroke. The only problem, most business owners are using this to paint something like this. Using the wrong tools to paint your business's future costs time and money that you can't afford to waste. That's why NetSuite by Oracle is trusted by over 42,000 businesses as the #1 AI cloud ERP. NetSuite conveniently brings accounting, inventory, HR, and financials together in one unified place. Their built-in AI features help you forecast better, automate the boring stuff, and get the clearest possible picture of your business's future. If I needed immediate clarity on my business's future to make quick, critical decisions, I'd look no further than NetSuite. So ditch the tiny brush and paint your future with NetSuite. You can learn more and download their CFO's guide to AI and machine learning at netsuite.com/UpFlip. It's free to you guys at netsuite.com/UpFlip, netsuite.com/UpFlip.
Walk us through your quoting process and share with us the margins that this business sees.
We use circumstances and situations for pricing. We have a standard price, right, that you use per day. You multiply that by how many days it's going to be, plus your material. You come up with your baseline. Now, let's say you've been in business for 2 years and you have 25 jobs lined up. We're going to go on the high end of that number, right? But now let's say you've been in business for 3 weeks. And this is going to be your first job. Well, we're going to go on the low end of that number. You know, what you're doing, especially starting a business, is you're using pricing as a marketing tool, right? To kind
50% off, right?
Trying to get jobs, right? Trying to make things happen. So, because you got to get in front of people. You don't have a business if you're not painting, right? So you just got to get those jobs. And so that's what we do to kind of get our pricing and our word out there and all those things. So quoting is just another tool.
And margins, what can we expect for this business? What's the range? Give us a range.
Yeah, so the range should be between 20 to 35%. That's going to be, and that's net profit. That's after your expenses, after paying all your bills. That is going to be your profit. And as long as
healthy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, in our industry, if we're at 12%, we failed you. It's definitely not how it goes.
All right, blitz time with Richard. You ready, my friend?
I'm ready.
All right, what's the worst paint color you've ever had to use?
Alabaster.
If you could paint any famous building in the world, what would it be and why?
The White House.
That'd be fun. What's the most money you've made from a single paint job? Gross revenue.
Of 150,000.
What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day of work?
A nice Snapple and sitting by my pool.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Business advice.
Just work hard.
Just do it. Okay. Last one. If you weren't in painting, what business would you be in?
I would be a DJ.
A DJ. Wow.
Yes.
Quite the change. Awesome. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Any advice when it comes to negotiating? What have you learned in the last 30 years?
Well, the #1 thing I've learned is you can always go down, but you can't go back up. What does that mean? It means if you're pricing a job, you want to make sure you're thinking about it is at the top of the range. Because if somebody wants to negotiate, well, you know you can go down to X. Let's say your job is 6,000, but you know you can do it for 5, right? So if you're starting out at 6,500 and they would negotiate, you get down to 5,500, you're still ahead of where you really needed to be. So use it as a tool.
How much do you spend on online marketing for Salisbury location total?
Probably not going to believe this. Less than $500 a month.
What?
Yeah. I mean, when you build a business and you build relationships, and everybody here knows Richard's painting, right? When people call up the office, we always ask, how do you hear about us? Well, you're everywhere. We see your signs, we see your vans, right? So we don't need a large presence.
Ship it away.
No. Yeah, we do it to be relevant, right? There are going to be people who reach out who are new to the area, who don't know who we are. So you have to be there.
Let's say I want to increase my online marketing budget. What platforms give you the best ROI for Richard's painting and franchisees as a whole?
The best return has been Facebook for us because you're getting directly in front of the customer every time. Google is more, you know, they're searching for something and you just pop up, right? So Facebook is just in their feed and it's there. Like that for us has been our best return on investment.
If Richard's story has inspired you to start your own business, but you just don't know where to start, you'll be excited to hear what I'm about to say. We've partnered with Richard to bring UpFlip viewers a complete step-by-step guide to go from never having held a paintbrush to your first customer to preparing a job site. I'm talking about franchise level training without the price tag. We'll make sure to leave a link in the description. Be sure to check it out. You've said if Google and Facebook are your top lead sources, then you're screwing up and not doing it right. Can you explain and help us understand what you mean by that?
That means that you're not doing anything beyond just taking in those leads from Google and Facebook. You haven't went out and met anybody. You haven't tried to build relationships. You're not doing a good job, so nobody's calling you back. There's all those factors that would help your business grow, right? And so
you're creating those opportunities.
Correct. And
on the ground.
That's what I'm talking about. Like for us in this location, Google and Facebook are at the bottom. Repeat customers, relationships, all those things that help you grow your business should be number one.
Can you give our viewers who are afraid of door knocking some tips and advice? Bring it, Richard.
Well, it is scary. Like, who wants to go knock on somebody's door and be scared of them, like, shutting the door in your face and saying, get out of here? But just like when you're young and you're trying to go, meet somebody, try to get a date, you got to ask to get a yes, right? You might get 100 no's, but the one yes might be the one.
Yep.
And so you have to understand that, right? You have to go in with the mindset that not everybody's going to be happy you're there. Not everybody's going to be like, wow, this is the greatest idea ever. No, they're going to be like, get the hell out of here, right? But
move on to the next.
Move on to the next one, because there's always another opportunity, right? And that's what you got to think, is you're just looking for opportunity and putting yourself in position to be successful.
What keeps you motivated when the going gets tough? I mean, give our viewers some advice, right? It's not easy to continue to push through uncertainty, challenges, etc.
Sure. My situation is never wanting to go back to being broke, never wanting to be poor, never wanting to come home and say to yourself, is this it? Is this the best it's going to be? That's motivation for me. Maybe your motivation's different. You're looking for a new challenge. Maybe you're looking to expand where you were, right? Maybe you've already been in business. You want another business, right? For me, it always goes back to, I just always want to be better than I was yesterday, right? I'm always looking forward. If I make a mistake in business or in life, I look at myself and say, how can I be better, right? How can I change what happened before moving forward? Because you and I both know you can't change the past. All you can do is change it forward. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is just always be looking forward and trying to be better.
More than half your business comes from referrals, which is incredible.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that kind of a sphere, a referral base?
It starts at the beginning with people of character, where the customer is just so happy to have us there. Yeah, we're painting, they're paying us, right? But there's many times when we're at somebody's house for a week or maybe 2 weeks where they're sad we're leaving, right? And that's not normal. Like, usually you hear about contractors and service business, oh gosh, I can't wait till they get out of here, right? They're just interrupting our lives. We do everything to create an experience where we're putting paint on walls and making things look better, sure, but we're really making that customer feel like they're gonna tell everybody about what we do, and really try to create that experience that nobody else does.
Is door knocking still part of the franchise's marketing efforts? Talk to us about why that's still the case, why it works, and anything else you want to share.
Door knocking is more than just going neighborhoods and knocking on doors and hoping somebody answers and doesn't yell at you to get out of the neighborhood, right? It's building relationships, it's meeting people, it's trying to create awareness for your business, your brand. So when we say door knocking, it's not just knocking on doors. If you're in a market like ours where people are getting 4 or 5 estimates every time because there's such an abundance of competition, you have to figure out ways that you can get in front of the competition before they do, right? So door knocking is a great way. Hey, the house looks, like it needs a paint job or it needs pressure washing. Maybe you knock on that door, you give them a price that they feel comfortable with, they're not going to call anybody else. Your opportunity to sell that job is way higher than if you're competing against 5 people every single time and it's just about price.
Makes sense. Can you be very specific on the type of services you offer within the painting category, and maybe which ones have better margins or just take less time to do, still the same margins?
Sure. In our services, from interior painting, exterior painting, pressure washing, cabinet painting, wallpaper, you're probably most profitable, like for time versus money and all that, it's probably pressure washing, right? Because you can get out there and pressure wash a house in 2 or 3 hours and charge $500, and it's a great quick money maker.
So what percentage of your business is pressure washing? Pretty
10%,
small,
right? So it's not really large. That being said, our most profitable part of the painting business would be interior painting. There's way more competition on exterior painting because, anybody thinks they get a sprayer and they can just be a painter and go out and paint a house for $2,500, right? But when you got to get in somebody's house and move furniture, cover stuff and be delicate and be on a one-on-one basis a lot with the customer, you have to have a higher level of expertise, right? And have you be the right kind of person. So for us, our premium is being inside of houses. That's where we really thrive.
Can you give our viewers a step-by-step blueprint on how to get started outside of the franchise world and get into this business tomorrow?
The biggest thing is making sure there's a demand for what we do. Is painting necessary in your area? First, which, by the way, it's needed everywhere. So you don't have to worry about that, right? Secondly, don't be scared to get started. Then assess the tools you need, right? What's your budget? Do you have $100 to spend? Do you have $1,000 to spend? Then you can dictate how you're going to get started. Then got to acquire customers. Go to neighborhoods, go to businesses that look like it needs painting and knock on the door. If you see a contractor renovating a house, go up to that contractor and say, hey, who does your painting? Ask if there's any opportunities available. Then you go and do the job. A lot of times people are just scared to not be good at painting.
I see.
Right? And so I can tell you a quick story myself. I remember painting early on, and we were painting this house, and we painted the foyer, the bedroom, the kitchen, and man, we got done with that job, and I was so proud. I thought we were the greatest painters ever. You know, fast forward 2 or 3 years later, we go back to that same house. I go in to admire my work and thinking, man, we're really good. I looked around and I said, wow, this is not nearly as good as I thought it was, right? But the customer didn't know. They thought it was great. They hired us back again, right? So the fear of saying that, what if I'm not good at painting? What if I can't do it? As long as you're showing the effort that you're trying, you're doing it. If there's a mistake, you fix it, you handle it, the customer's gonna love you, right? They're not gonna care if that wall is perfectly smooth or if it's cut in at a perfect angle. They're gonna know that you tried, you cared, and that's all people really care about.
What would you tell your 15-year-old self if you could go back? What advice would you give yourself?
Are you trying to make me cry? Is that what you're trying to do?
It's okay to be vulnerable. We all have a story.
When I was 15, I didn't know where I was going to end up. Talk about dropping out of high school, not really having any sort of knowing where to go, what to do, looking for guidance, looking for something, you know, to where I am now. I look back to then and say, you are everything that you hoped you could be. I really hoped that I could be something more than just a loser, like somebody who didn't have any inspiration to do more than just wake up in the morning, right? Now I've got all this spirit of helping other people become successful and changing their lives. And I want to be that person that I didn't have when I was 15.
Yeah.
That's what I really and happy. And that's what I would look back at being 15 now.
Do you think money buys happiness?
Well, if that's what you're thinking, that's your first mistake, because money is not going to just magically make you happy. Money will help you make your life easier. It'll give you opportunities that you didn't have without money, right? But money cannot be the only motivation. For me, it never was. To this day, I don't think about money as a way of making myself happy. I look at like, how am I making a difference? And then if the money is a byproduct of that, great. But helping people and making the world a better place is way more important than just money.
What's the costliest mistake that you've made so far in the business? Give us a specific story.
Well, narrow it down, you could probably say hiring the wrong kind of people.
I see.
Right? That's usually most businesses' mistakes. But for us specifically, many people with great experience are not always the great people. Imagine walking in somebody's house and you walk in the front door and the homeowner's at the kitchen, her kids are there, and you see your employee sleeping on their couch.
Oh.
Right? Could you imagine that? Drunk. Right? And you hear
not just sleeping, then you add a drunk later.
Yes.
Oh, now we're talking, this is bad.
But then you have customers who are so good, you hear them say, kids, be quiet, Scott's taking a nap, right? But you say to yourself, you're sweating like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, how do I get out of this?
How do we get out of this, right? And so if you have that experience once, no big deal. You have it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, your reputation starts to fall. You know, hey, Richard might be really good. They might be a great painting business, but they got some terrible people working for them.
30 years in the business, looking for the right people. What are you doing differently now in terms of what you're asking people, the questions, the traits you look for, or is it still kind of a struggle? I would imagine a little bit of both.
The hardest part about hiring is like you have to be patient, right? You have to understand you may have to hire 3 people to find the one. You're not going to find one every time and they're going to be a rock star. So you have to kind of have more patience and be willing to go through the ups and downs. And there's some people who may start out, they're not the greatest painter. They may be just wanting to get an opportunity. And if we're here to help them grow, then that's really what we're trying to do.
So you have employees that have been with you for over a decade. Talk to us about building that kind of loyalty within the team.
Yeah, it starts with great character from them. They're just great people. Secondly, it's all about treating them well, being appreciative, giving them opportunities, right? Making sure that their lives are being, improved upon as they're here and growing. I love to see, I have people who started in, like I said, just a helper. Now their kids are going to college, they bought a house, all because they work here, right? And that's really something that really gives me a lot of pride.
Who's the one employee that's been with you the longest so far?
On this job site, Ulysses has been with me for 10 years. He's currently the longest. We've had people for 12 or 13 years. And
did some transition to become a franchisee?
Yes, they have. The second franchisee was Ulysses' brother, my first employee. And that's the great thing about Richard's Painting. You can start out at the very bottom and work your way to being an owner of your own location. And I think that's the best you can ask for.
How would you describe your leadership style? You've got an amazing team. How has your leadership evolved over the last, decade plus?
I mean, it's changed a lot where at the beginning, you think you have to do everything, right? You got to be the person doing the estimates, doing the painting, doing all the jobs. And as you evolve as a person, as a business, you realize to grow, you have to delegate. But you can't just give people tasks and expect them to just do it the way you would do it. You have to train them. You have to create a culture where people want to learn. They've got to do it, but I'm going to give them an opportunity to be successful. And if they can, take it from like it's just coming in and getting started to becoming their own owner of a business, that gives me pride. My style is really just, I'm going to get in there and do it with you, right? I'm not going to just tell you to go do this. I'll stand next to you and do it with you if that's what it takes to get the team and everybody motivated to be successful.
How would you teach somebody with no painting experience how to paint?
Do they have the character? Do they have what's inside to make them want to work? That's the first step, and have great relationships with people. Painting is not that complicated. I mean, you've seen many people DIY, do this, do that. But in our business, one of the things that people worry about the most is, what happens if I don't know how to paint? The great thing is most customers don't know the difference between a great paint job and just a good paint job. So getting in there and just rolling and just cutting in and not being scared to make mistakes or not know how to do it, but also be willing to accept some mentorship from somebody who does know how to do it.
What percentage of your business is commercial versus residential, and do margins change?
Well, our business, especially this location, but all locations, are relatively 80-20 split, 80% residential, 20% commercial, right? That's kind of typical for us. And the margins are very similar. The only difference is maybe the price of the jobs. So your typical house may be $5,000, where a commercial project might be $25,000, right? But the margin should be very much the same because you're supposed to price it correctly, right? Just because it's a bigger job doesn't mean you want to just make less margin. You want to make sure you have the same margin no matter what you're doing.
And this commercial/residential project here, what's the gross revenue on this?
Yeah, this project here is going to be over 150,000.
Wow!
Right, and it's because it's extensive. You can see by the metal ceilings and the 14-foot ceilings. It's a lot.
You're painting the walls, the ceilings,
combination of everything.
Okay.
Like ceilings, these tin ceilings that are over 100 years old.
Yeah,
we're going to have to spray that, right?
Yep.
So that's the way that gets done. The walls, we will spray the primer, but maybe we're going to roll the finish coat. Right? There's all different techniques to kind of get you to the end.
How many men would be working this project?
Typically for us, we have 2 to 3, which sounds low, right? But that's our crews, like, 2 people, 3 people, it kind of keeps us, nice and tight and lean.
Imagine if you lost everything tomorrow.
Yeah.
How quickly do you think you can build it back up to where it is today with the experience and knowledge that you have?
Yeah, I feel like I could do it in less than a year. Nowadays, with the tools that we have, the things I've learned from just when I first started to 5 years ago to today, just the opportunity to be successful is all here. You just have to do it. If I started a different business, say window washing, I think I could have that business up and running in a month and be doing $500,000 in a year. It's just knowing where to put people, how to do it, where to spend money, having a goal. Right? Having a goal of reaching, you have to start with that. Like before, I just did it. I didn't know how it was going to go, and maybe this will happen. And you just kind of learn as you go. Now I know I can do $1 million, $2 million without even worrying about it. So now I have a plan that I can start with right from day one. Instead of kind of going through it and learning and making mistakes, now I can just execute.
Do you think growing up poor kind of pushed you towards entrepreneurship? How has that experience shaped where you are today?
When you come home at night and the lights aren't on because they couldn't afford to pay the electric bill, you start to think to yourself, is this how I want to live? Right? Is this how I want it to be? And so from a young age, I would go out and shovel driveways. I would cut grass. I would deliver newspapers, do whatever it takes so that I could help pay the bills. When I was young, I'm 13, 14 years old. I'm out there trying to give my parents money to make sure we could put the electric on. And so, of course, that molded me into say, hey, I know I can control what I can do. That helps you with trying to be a business owner or an entrepreneur. You're willing to take risks. You're willing to fail to succeed. If you can do that, it will help you a lot.
You talk a lot about being local. What's your recommendation to other entrepreneurs for getting involved in their community?
Yeah, first step is joining groups, joining local chamber of commerce. There may be a BNI group in your area. There may be just a group that gets to the coffee house, go over there and just meet people and talk to people. You got to get ingrained in your community. Nobody's going to know you if you don't show up. Sponsoring, a local baseball team, right? Sponsoring events, right? Getting your name out there. There's hundreds of things you can do, but you got to get visible, right? You got to have, you got to wear the uniform. This is not Halloween for me. This is every day, right? This is, when people see me in regular clothes, like they know me, but they're not really sure why.
Yeah.
But they all, and that's the great thing about painting. On top of everything, we have this uniform that kind of says, hey, he's a painter. So when you're walking at the Lowe's parking lot or you're walking down the street, somebody comes up to you and says, hey, can you give me an estimate? Sure. Get a business card, you're ready to go. Half the job is done for you just by being there.
Looking back, did you ever expect to be where you are today? It's been a long journey, right? 30 plus years?
Sure has. If I could look back at my younger self, gosh, no. Talk about somebody who had no confidence and didn't think he could do anything. Even though I tried lots of things and I did it, I never believed in myself. I never thought I could do it.
When did that start to change, or you started to grow out of that mindset?
When somebody I met, who I worked for when I first started painting, he was the first person who really saw more in me than I saw in myself. Right? I never thought that, I did things and I tried to make things happen, but I never believed I could be successful. Until one day, this is a moment where...
So you're getting emotional.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for you.
It is. It's I wouldn't be where I am without him. It's really important to say that. He had rental properties and we were working on a roof, one day, and we're sitting up on this roof and he says, Richard, I just want you to know I'm a millionaire. And I'm like, okay. My first thought was, why are we up here putting this roof on if you're a millionaire? But what he really meant was, if you continue to work hard and you get better, you can do this too. And that's really where I started to see myself as something different than just somebody just going through life and just, whether it was, what started to set goals and want to be more than what I was.
Tell us a little bit about why you decided to franchise. At what point and why go that route?
Once I, started from nothing and built a business doing over $1 million, I, just as a person, I get bored, right? Like I want another challenge. What do you do to try and get to the next step, right? So for me, I wanted to grow Richard's Painting. When I first started painting, I had this little dream in my mind. Man, I wanted to have the biggest painting company in the world. Didn't know what that meant when I first started, but it was there. I don't want to be the person who has 20 locations and having all responsibility of hundreds and hundreds of employees for myself. So I saw franchising as a way where you can get owners who have as much skin in the game as I do. Their desire to be successful, they have an investment, they have to make their money back, and we can grow the brand with their help. And I really wanted to see people grow, right? Like I'm really excited about people who maybe don't have a lot of money. Maybe they just have enough money to get started, and I can take them and help them become, hopefully one day, millionaires.
Yeah. Can franchisees expect a very similar rate of growth? Can you share some numbers, interesting stories about that?
Yes, definitely. Our average franchisee doubles their sales from year 1 to year 2. A specific franchisee who is in Tennessee, and his first year sales were just around 150,000. This year, right, they're already surpassed 150,000, and we're only 5 months of the way in. And so they're on track to do way more than that. And that is typical amongst all our franchisees.
If Richard's painting franchise excites you as much as it does me, I highly encourage you guys to check out the link in the description below, as Richard's kind enough to give our UpFlip viewers a very special deal. Would you be where you are today if you never met Don Greer? And where I'm going with this is, talk to us about finding the right mentor, right? And how important that is.
I think finding him and him finding me was the perfect match, right? We complemented each other. He was somebody who was there to give me the advice that I needed, right? Even though I didn't know I needed it. The thing about mentorship and finding that right mentor is the person who's seeking the mentorship has to be willing to take it. Many people can get advice and talk to people, but if they never use it, then it's really not, what's the point, right? So I was smart enough to say what he's telling me is actually changing my life. And I took that information and just made it better, right? And so getting mentorship, seeking it is important, and finding that right person for you, but you got to be willing to take it too.
What's your advice to the younger generation maybe who are just, in their teens, 17, 18, want to get into business? Is it basically just go work for somebody?
Gosh, I feel old again, right? Like years ago, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have this great channel, right? Where you can get out there and really see what's happening and see people's experiences.
Yeah.
So the opportunities are limitless for being successful now compared to when I was first getting started, which doesn't seem that long ago, but 30 years ago, you didn't have that network of people or the opportunity to have social media and see all these things that you can find people easily. You don't even need to find a mentor. You just start listening to podcasts or YouTube videos. So it's different now, right? But if you really want to reach that level of success that you see on social media, you see out there, you got to find somebody that you can relate to, somebody that you can really see one-on-one, right? And I think that's a big difference.
Quick reminder, since you've watched this far, we have partnered with Richard to bring you a complete step-by-step blueprint on how to start your business. If you want it, the link is in the description below. And if you enjoyed this episode, check out episode 189 with a founder who only works 3 days a week, rakes in $1.5 million a year, building fences and decks. Take a second, like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.